Well, good afternoon. Welcome to our 2023 annual report of the Kenton County School District. I'm Henry Webb. I'm the superintendent of the school system. We would like to thank Assured Partners for sponsoring today's luncheon. They've been a valuable partner with us for many, many years. So our annual report, we're here today to talk about the holistic review of our school district. In 2022, our Board of Education adopted the community-based accountability system here in Kenton County Schools. And I would like to commend our Board of Education for being visionary leaders, and we have 3 of them with us here today. Thank you all for being with us. This particular system enables us to have a systemic approach to improving learning all across our school district. And we do this through 7 pillars, which we will reference in just a few minutes, action plans, and once again, reviewing and signaling those pillars and key questions, and I will be reviewing that. But none of this is possible unless we engage our community and our stakeholders. So to all of our stakeholders watching this annual report, thank you for allowing us to serve our kids. And to all of our individuals that's here today and those who couldn't be with us that serve on our pillar action teams, thank you for your service. Having people engaged in the process is truly what the community-based accountability system is all about. We still value, obviously, the Kentucky Summative Assessment. It's very important for school districts in Kentucky, but the community-based accountability system enables us to look at our district, once again, holistically, and it is a true accountability model. And I can stand here today and say to you all that we are now a data-driven, forward-facing school district, and we no longer are reactionary. But once again, forward-facing means we review data in real time and we make decisions and changes to impact learning as they occur. Just real quickly about our school district, we have 17 schools. We have about 14,000 kids in school, including preschool, and we're the 6th largest school district in Kentucky. We have an outstanding world-class Board of Education, and we recently included or added a new member, Ms. Erin McConnell, and she'll be with us in the near future serving on our board team. These are our 7 pillars. I'm not going to talk about them a lot because we'll have a presentation on each pillar today. You'll be hearing a lot of information and data on each pillar. But I would say, once again, that each pillar has key questions that we have action plans for to make sure we achieve what the pillar is trying to make sure we achieve for our kids. And with that being said, today, the process, we're going to have a member of our cabinet come forward, and we're going to review and share information and data on each of our 7 pillars. And to get us started today, our pillar 7, which is safety and well-being, will be our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Rob Haney.
Good afternoon. Before I get started highlighting some of the features and conversations around Pillar 7, I'd certainly like to thank our team members. We have a very great team that's devoted to safety and security, and our team members put forth a great deal of effort and input. We have some great expertise in the room, and they made attendance a real important feature of our committee process, so thank you. I'd also like to thank Tara Drysdale. Tara is doing double duty because she has her own pillar, but she spends most of her time being responsible for the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our students. So Pillar 7 is not only the physical attributes of our school buildings, but it's also the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our students. So thank you, Tara, for your attendance at all of our pillar meetings. Our key questions, there are 5 key questions that we've identified at the very beginning of this process. The first 3 questions really hone in on and pay attention to the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our students. And the last 2 key questions is really where we focus on the physical attributes of our building. We refer to this as the soft side and the hard side of our safety and security needs. We made some adjustments coming into this school year. Last year when we started Pillar 7, we had a lot of capital construction taking place with all of our school buildings. And we've essentially completed all of those construction projects So we really focused our attention this year on full implementation of those systems that we constructed, as well as training with training of our staff members. So we changed a little bit of our evidence on the last two key questions around training and full implementation. Some of the highlights that I would like to share with you, starting with the social, emotional, and behavioral needs, we rely heavily on the Terrace Metrics assessment system of our students. In the fall of 2022, we screened 7,353 students. And in the spring, we screened 7,592 students. We showed some improvement. Seems to be nominal, a 2% increase in the number of students that we're identifying as global or good satisfaction on the optimal and safety category. So 64% of our students identify in the optimal or satisfactory category, which is significant. But even more important is from the spring of 2022 to the spring of 2023, so a year's worth of improvement, we realized that 8% increase in the students that identified as satisfactory or optimal, which is a 10% increase over that period of time. So we're real pleased with the recent progress in this category. Some other highlights, this goes back to our safety and security project. We implemented it and added some Stop the Bleed kits in all of our schools. This is something that the state security marshal has identified as something that we should have on hand, and we were able to fold that into the construction project. So all of our schools now have the Stop the Bleed kits in hand. I mentioned that we targeted our focus around training, so we carved out a little bit of time at each of the principal and district leadership meetings on a monthly basis, and we incorporated a topic on safety and security with each and every meeting. So we intend to do that moving forward into this next school year. One of the major milestones we also accomplished this year is we have provided keyed access to all of the police departments throughout the entire school district. And that's not just for one key per school or per police department, but a key for every police officer within those police departments. Because we know if we had a significant event, it would be all hands on deck and all police officers would be responding to an incident. So all of those departments have keyed access now to all of our schools. An area of focus for next year is to provide security camera access to those police departments. And that's something that we've been working on for some time. So in this next school year, we will be able to accomplish and provide those emergency responders with the access to our security cameras. And then lastly, moving into next year, our counselors plan to develop a Tier 1 SEL pacing guide to address the needs of their individual schools. Now I'm going to invite Ms. Susan Bentel to the stage to assist, and I will help participate in the Pillar 6 presentation around fiscal and operational systems.
Good day, thank you so much. Pillar 6 is fiscal and operational systems. We have a lot of facilities and obviously a large budget to operate our school district every year. Again, I want to thank our team members who worked very diligently in our Pillar 6 and committee members and their contributions this year. Our signaling in Pillar 6 was all green by the end of the year. We did have some changes in food service that we implemented this year, and we were able to signal them green at May. Our questions go all the way from finances to fiscal and facilities, food service, transportation, and energy management are basically the topics of our questions. Our spending in the district, our budget is basically 74% that we would like to dedicate and that we had a goal to dedicate to the pillar operations, being the most important operations and things going on in the district this year. So we're happy to report that we're definitely on track for spending that. That's a nice amount of money to dedicate to the pillar operations. And we're certainly thankful for the funds, the federal funds that we've been spending. And those have all been dedicated towards technology, direct instruction, professional development, transportation, some facility upgrades as well. So all of the money is going in lots of different areas to support our students and their operations and goals to success. Our contingency is also another goal. We have a goal of around a 10 to 12% contingency for the district. We were able to maintain 16%, which is great. But what does that really mean? That really means that we're just well poised in order to do a good job for next year and the next year's coming. We also look for what we're doing this year in fiscal operations, but certainly, are we prepared to continue the level of instruction, the level of service, and maintaining our facilities for the next years as well? So we're glad and happy to report that we are definitely in a good spot to do that again next year's in the coming years. Another one of our goals was on resource management. We have added, with the one-to-one project, quite a few assets to the technology assets of the district. So we wanted to make sure we had a good system to track those and maintain those, and our resource management system has been implemented, and we're happy to report it's 100% operational at this time. Rob's going to go over some of the construction and facility operations.
I think it pretty much goes without saying, if you're in and around our district, we have a significant amount of capital construction taking place, as we always do. We right now are finishing up about $80 million worth of capital construction. We opened bids on a new district support operation facility the other day, and the board will be entertaining the approval of that bid award on Monday night. In addition to that, we have 3 additional capital construction projects in the early planning stages. So we have a lot of work going on in our pursuit of maintaining and constructing world-class facilities. It's one thing to have the wherewithal to get at some of these new construction projects, but it's another thing to maintain those school facilities in good working condition. Right now, we just budgeted $1.3 million out of capital outlay funds toward the improvement and the maintenance of those schools. And within the last probably 5 or 6 years, we've been able to maintain a budget of around $1.2 million just toward the maintenance of those facilities. Some other highlights of the year certainly involve transportation. We've been striving toward maintaining a phenomenal fleet of buses and staff members, and one of the items to highlight is the fact that we've been able to reduce routes. You can see that we've reduced routes from 98 routes last year to 91 routes the year before, or this year. And I can tell you, when I first started with this school district, we were running around 143 to 145 routes per day. So we have drastically reduced our number of routes over time. Within the food service department, obviously, we are maintaining a high percentage of participation. We're at 57% participation for lunch, eating healthy and nutritious meals, and we've had some surveys, and we're looking at trying to hit a sweet spot on what is enticing for the students to participate, and also balancing the nutritious meal offering. The other thing that we did in these 3 of these projects is we had significant additions to our kitchens and cafeterias, and renovations to 3 of the schools that involve kitchens as well as cafeterias. So that's certainly going a long way toward improving our offering of services in the kitchen. The last highlight is energy conservation. We started a program in 2005 with a lot of these renovation projects, really paying attention to how we were designing and constructing those buildings. And I can stand here and say that since 2005, we have saved and/or cost avoided in excess of $22 million in real dollars that impact our operating budget. So we're thrilled with our program, and certainly we have systems in place to sustain that effort moving forward.
Our next steps in this area are basically to continue our good progress in our fiscal management, but certainly we recognize that we are operating in the same economic environment that other businesses are operating under. We certainly want to watch our construction projects and other projects where supplies may be limited or delivery may be detained because of availability and things like that. Those do affect our construction projects at times. So we want to watch that very closely. And certainly the labor market in the area is very, very tight. So we are definitely hiring and doing a good job on keeping positions filled as much as possible. But we do recognize that sometimes turnover and not having 100% staff in some areas will need some adjustments and things like that. So we're up to doing that and certainly look forward to continuing and having a good year next year in fiscal and operations management.
All right, I get to work with Pillar 5, it's the people. So this is one of my favorite things to work with through my whole career, and I've been lucky enough to have this as one of my pillars to present to everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with what our areas are that we look at. So first off, thank you to everybody who serves on this pillar with me, but more importantly, thank you to everybody that's here today, because so many of you make a huge impact on how we report out all of these pillars and the data that comes from you that generates this. Our first 5.1 question really targets what are we doing to retain our good, high quality people. 5.2 is really focusing a little bit more on what are we doing to recruit in those high quality people. 5.3 concentrates on our professional development, where 5.4 and 5.5 in different capacities look at what are we doing to support the current employees that we have so they are not struggling, they're high quality, and they're everything that we need to keep our school district moving along. Some quick highlights that I wanted to point out. The very first one is really concentrated in 5.1. So we had to kind of look at, we've got this data in our district now. This is our second year pulling all of this, but we really wanted a frame of reference for what do these percentages mean. So when we look at the state of Kentucky as a whole, and this is in all job markets, this is not just in education, they pulled the data for the monthly average of retaining high quality staff as 95.5% as the monthly average. We ran this two different ways because a little bit different than some of the other pillars, all of the stuff in human resources and that recruitment and retention really runs 12 months. We don't have a slow period during the summer for data. Our big data comes in during the summertime. So we did run this data two different ways to see what our monthly average would be. We ran it for 12 months, which was May 1st to May 1st. When we did that, we saw that our average for that 12-month period was 96.63%. So we're above that state average. We also ran it a different way for just looking at the school year so far. So from September through May, when we ran that average so far, we're at 97.9% for our monthly average. So that's something that we're very proud of, and thank you for helping achieve that. In 5.2, that's our second highlight that we wanted to point out. When we looked at those numbers, we just had a comparison from last year to this year, and we looked at that monthly average of our ability to fill positions within a 60-day time frame. And our monthly average was 5% better this year than it was last year. So we look forward to seeing, even though we're already in the 90s, we want to see what we can take that percentage up next year. The next one is, as you guys will remember, back in October, we did our first ever stay survey. And we did that to counteract that right now for the past, well, maybe 10, 15 years, the state of Kentucky's had, used to be the TELF survey, then it became the impact survey, that really was getting at working conditions. But they only ran that survey every other year. So in order to get some data to know, hey, how are we doing on those off years? Why are people staying with us? Because we want to keep doing those things, and we want to make this a place to stay once we get you here. So we created our own stay survey to roll out in those non-impact survey years. You'll notice from that data that 87% of our employees, and that's certified and classified, agree that it's a positive, they can make a positive difference in the role that they're at in our district. And 88% have built positive professional connections when working here. And then lastly on our highlights, because I want to spend most of my time talking about next steps for us, I want to point out that it was another successful year, again, thanks to everybody in this room. What an amazing experience it was watching new people come into our district and make connections. We had 130 people that showed up again this year. Over in the Dixie Gym, we packed it in again and had a great success with hiring certified people for next year. Next, some of you will notice we've got notable staff achievements that are constantly running on a new webpage that we have for employment. You'll see some familiar faces that are in this room right now, but you can see them at any point in time on our employment webpage. We thought it was really important on that employment page, rather than just clicking employment and running into where you apply for jobs, we needed to do something to highlight what we have in our district and the great things, because when you want to work somewhere where you're around award-winning people that you get to work in day in and day out. So rather than just being up on a Twitter once and then we've lost their nice picture and their achievement, they're up there for the entirety because they're highlighted on our employment page. So I encourage you guys to keep going there and looking at the wonderful things our staff does. Finally, for next steps, the reason I wanted to spend a little bit of time on next steps was because really, I'm going to ask for some help here. So I know I asked for help all along, but we had great success with our teacher recruitment that we had in May, but we realized when we're recruiting classified employees, we have to look at that a little bit different and go about it a slightly different way. We're going to try this. You'll notice even the flyer looks a little similar, right? But we're going to have walk-in Wednesdays. So any kind of help recruiting and getting people there every Wednesday, we're going to have people from our different classified organizations there to give interviews on the spot. We're also going to be monitoring where we have instructional assistants popping up across the district, and we'll be reaching out to principals directly. While you won't do your interview on the spot, because I know your SBDM council does need to be included in that, even though we won't have that, it will be your time to meet and greet just like you did at the job fair to see who you would want as an instructional assistant and invite them and set up appointments right then to come in with your SBDM council. The next thing that I'm really excited about, and I hope you'll kind of share this word as the year goes on, watch your IAs that you have as employees in your schools and tap them when you think they would be a great teacher. So over the past year, legislation was passed to create a new alternative teacher certification option called Option 9. I know you guys have heard about this from me so far, and you're going to continue to hear about it because we were actually the first school district, the very first week of May, that entered into an agreement with NKU to start an Option 9 program. I know some other districts in the region have come along as well, but we're excited. We do have teachers who've applied for this program to be starting this summer, and what they're going to be doing is going to be unique because this is their opportunity to keep working in their position, not have to go on leave. They get to work with you guys, you're great people, make those connections in the school to know, okay, here's how I can parlay my experience as an instructional assistant into becoming a teacher. So you're feeding your job market. Please, all I ask of you right now, watch your instructional assistants, give the encouragement, and have them contact me and I'll help them get into a program like this. The thought process right now is that NKU is hoping to add, instead of just elementary certification this year, they're hoping next year to be able to add special education. Our last slides of next steps really fall into some of the things we found out on our STAY survey. And I do want to highlight, but not go into too much because I know Shauna's actually got it on her slides to discuss. But we did have some great improvements that we saw in our employee data whenever we looked at that survey information. And it was related to the resources we're providing and the professional learning opportunities they have. So I'll let Shauna go into that detail a little bit more in hers, but great work so far. Thank you all.
So hi, I'm Tara Drysdale, and I work with Pillar 4, Community Engagement and Partnerships. I just want to say thank you so much for my team and to the principals for being willing to try something different this year with how we measured community engagement and partnerships, and I just appreciate your willingness to try that. And I feel like our data this year is so much better than it was last year. So let's start off with our signaling. When we look at that first question for 1.A, that's really looking at what opportunities do our schools provide to families and the community. So what are the volunteer opportunities at your school? How are you engaging with the community? Who are those community partners like the Kenton County Library or St. Elizabeth's? How are you using those partnerships in your building? 4.1B is how are we engaging families in the community to support that academic and SEL success? And that was a change in how we measured our data this year. And that's where we used the family-friendly and school partnership self-assessment. And each school with their SBDM council really reviewed relationship building and communication, which are part of this rubric. And they self-assessed, and then they set a goal and support. They set a goal and then identified a strategy that they were going to use to really improve those two areas. And they did the same specifically for at-risk students, which is 4.1C, as to what degree do our schools support at-risk families and their achievement. So, and as you can see, that is the only one that was signaled light blue, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So just our highlights, what's really exciting to us is that we saw growth in relationship building and communication for each of our schools. The only area we didn't see growth was our at-risk families. And so that's an issue that we're going to address differently next year to provide schools more support with some high-impact strategies to really help them with how can they engage our at-risk families to help close that academic gap, which you're going to hear more about in Pillar 1. So these are some more highlights. I love these graphs to see how we went from our first signaling in November, where we had 70 volunteer opportunities, to how it increased to 160 by the end of the year. And the same with our learning opportunities. There were 54 offered between August and November, but then they just continued to grow throughout the year at each of our schools. And it's the same with school and community partnerships, that over the year, and I think it's sharing among schools with, I've worked with the Kenton County Library, how is your school engaging? And principals asking those questions and really growing those community partnerships. And then we also look at job embedded and career exposures, and this is more just from an education standpoint from our team. They wanted to know how community partners were being used and brought into the schools. And so you can see, we started out at the beginning of the year where there were only 5, and then by the end of the year with 102, and this would just be guest speakers, this is lunch and learns, different things like that. So we're, again, really exposing, using our community members in a productive way to really help expose kids to their future careers, even as early as preschool and kindergarten. Our next steps and adjustments, we're going to continue using that self-assessment, the family-friendly and school partnership assessment, but we are going to continue with relationship building and communication because those are the foundational pieces. So we're going to continue to identify strategies in those areas. And then we are also, our team is going to provide some high-impact strategies for at-risk families, things that we know research has shown that work with engaging at-risk families to provide schools more support when they are setting their goals for the 23-24 school year. So thank y'all so much, and I'm going to turn it over to Leslie Smith with Pillar 3.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Leslie Smith, and I oversee Pillar 3, which is our engaged, well-rounded students. And just a big thank you to our team for all your work throughout the school year, and to all of our principals. I know we ask for a lot of data collection. So we have 3 questions, and our first question is really around the opportunities and participation in our extracurricular clubs. This can also occur within the school or outside of the school day. Our second question is really around related arts and elective opportunities that we offer for students in grades preschool all the way up to their senior year. And our last question is around our positive school experiences. And you'll see that we were able to signal all of our questions green this year, which is an amazing accomplishment. Last year, we did signal 3.1 light blue towards the end of the year, and we were able to make adjustments and changes, and so we're happy to report that it is all green for this year. We have a ton of highlights to share for Pillar 3, and it's just amazing data that we can share not only at our elementary and middle school, but our high school as well. So our first one is really around positive school experiences. And we know that there's challenges at school. And when we did our last survey data, both elementary, middle, and high were all above 90% for positive school experiences. And that is a direct correlation for the positive school environments all of you have in our school district. So just a huge thank you, because that is just incredible data. Our second piece of data that I want to highlight is our participation in extracurricular activities. And again, we had a 10% increase when we looked at our comparative data from the spring of last year to the spring of this year in elementary, middle, and high school, and overall throughout the whole district, we increased 10%. So again, not only were we able to add additional opportunities for our students, we also cleaned up our data collection, which was a huge piece as well. So again, just amazing, amazing data. A couple key things that contributed to the participation was this year we were able to offer intramural basketball and cheerleading. So it was our first time to offer cheerleading at our elementary schools. And we had 750 students participate. That was an increase of over 200 students from our previous years. And so that is definitely a program we're going to continue to grow. Also, we brought back middle school intramural basketball. All of you are aware that when students get to middle school, it's their first opportunity for competitive sports. And so many of our students that have been participating in athletics could possibly be cut from a sport. So we wanted to show value that we still wanted those kids to be involved. And so we offered a fall session and a spring session for middle school basketball, both boys and girls. And we had over 300 participants that participated, which is great. And then lastly, our elective classes and arts opportunities. We offer over 500 electives and art opportunities for our students. One of the big reasons this number has grown since the past, 2 years is the dual enrollment opportunities that we're able to offer at the high school level. And it's just amazing, and we'll continue to grow and highlight that number. So a couple other highlights that I want to talk about. 2 promotional items that we were able to put together this year as a team was we put a brochure, and this brochure was shared with all of our schools and our school community. And we also put together a video to highlight not only why it's important, but to highlight some of our students. So I'm going to show you our video.
When you compare high-achieving students, there is one thing many have in common: getting involved.
I play football for SK.
Whenever I do cheer, I meet new people.
Being in the band is one of the few things I do look forward to throughout the day.
For these students, adding activities outside the classroom equals success inside the classroom.
For the whole school year so far, I've had A's and B's because obviously I want to stay on the cheer team.
Helps me with my grades, because if I don't have good grades, I won't play football.
I definitely think without music, I think it'd be a lot more lost.
Absolutely. I think studies show that if you're involved in some kind of and engaged in your school activities, discipline is better, behavior is better, attendance goes up, and grades obviously go up because there are standards. They have to be eligible. Each school has a set of requirements for you to participate. You can't be failing in playing. You can't have behavior issues in play. So all that goes hand in hand.
For sophomore Donald Miller, playing in the marching and pep band has supercharged both his music aspirations and friend requests.
If you think of yourself as a more musical person, or hey, maybe you just want to try something out, band is definitely a place where we are all welcoming and you'll definitely make some friends. We have such a variety of people in the band, and there's definitely a person for everyone, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to district officials too, who see firsthand the benefits of students adding additional activities to their school day.
We transition ready, and it also improves attendance, it improves behavior, improves grades. All that has been shown through studies that the more you're involved, the better those things are.
So it's just really motivating so that you don't get in trouble or don't get bad grades.
There wouldn't be as many people to help guide me through my life and like with my choices and stuff.
I feel like I wouldn't be the same person because football has taught me a lot about life, how to be disciplined, how to show up to everything, and how to control myself, I guess.
To maximize activity benefits, a something for everyone approach is taken in the Kenton County School District. Student outlet avenues include more than 400 arts-related and elective opportunities. More than 8,300 students have taken advantage of electives or have teamed up for one of 18 Kentucky high school state athletic sports.
We have something for everybody. So if you're not interested in sports, there might be clubs. Also, if the parents want to get involved, they can form their own club. There's site-based policies for each school that if you are interested in something, contact your administrator and form a club or form an activity where you can get involved.
Because getting involved is proven to make it easier to get to this stage and be more prepared for the life stages after graduation.
So a big thank you to Matt Wilhoit, who you saw in the video. He oversees many of our district activities, also Chris Kendall and his department for putting that together. So this page just highlights and captures several student accomplishments that we've had throughout the year. And what's really difficult is we really can't fit all the accomplishments of our students on one page. So we pulled out some of our, above and beyond, our national merit finalists. We've also had some key athletes who, state champion in wrestling, as well as a Scott runner who's a state champion in cross country. So again, this is just a quick little overview of some of the athletic and academic accomplishments of our students. Just a couple pieces of data. We have 17.2% of our students are minority in the school district. We also have 46 different languages that are spoken, which is unbelievable. And our EL students, we have about 580 students, and this number has grown exponentially in the last few years, so it's a growing community. So our Pillar 3 next steps that I want to talk about, our first one is really just being consistent, making sure that we're running our data for students not participating in extracurriculars, and then identifying those kids with our schools, because the most important piece is we have to see what are those barriers. Why are kids not participating in an activity? We know the value, we know the connections that can be made, we know it increases their behavior, it increases their grades. So what's that barrier? And so that's where we'll work closely with schools to help put in some of those strategies. Our next one is just continuing to expand our district-sponsored activities. The last couple of years, we've added athletic opportunities for kids. And so a couple ideas we're trying to, decide on. We need some arts opportunity as well, starting it at the elementary level, band and choir, really exposing them to those opportunities, and then that can grow when they get to middle and high school. Again, we want to expand some of the promotional items that we've been able to share. So a couple ideas of our committee is we want to make sure we highlight students that are doing amazing things, schools that are doing amazing things, and so those are two things that we can do. And then just continue to collaborate with our FRCs in schools. It goes back to those barriers. We want to make sure kids have opportunities to participate. So thank you, and at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Pillar 2, which is Mary Beth Huss.
Good afternoon, I'm Mary Beth Huss, and I work closely with Pillar 2, which is student readiness. And I just want to thank everyone first and foremost, especially those that sit on the Pillar 2 action team. It's been a highlight in my school year to work with this team, and now today to be able to share the progress of student readiness. And so you can see we have 3 key questions within student readiness. And 2.1 is to what degree are students transition ready exiting high school. 2.2 was new for us this year, and that is to what degree are students transition ready exiting middle school. And then 2.3 with our students exiting elementary school. And I do want to preface and say that in this district, we do treat transition readiness as a P to 12 initiative. So even though we're signaling, looking at exiting years for each of our grade levels with 5th, 8th, and 12th grades, we do track data and have information and work with all of our students preschool through 12th grade. So in November, February, and May of this school year, the action team met to signal each key question, and you can see the signaling that took place. I want to point out with key question 2.2 and 2.3, we factored in the GPA this year. And not all of our schools have a report card until mid or end of November. So when we signaled at the beginning of November, we did not have the data yet to signal for key questions 2.2 and 2.3. And just again, also keep in mind that middle school, that was our inception year, and elementary, we did move this year the transition readiness as an adjustment from 3rd grade to 5th grade. We felt that was more in alignment with ending at each grade level that transitions into a new school building. So I also want to point out on this slide with our cohort 23 students, seniors who are getting ready to graduate, we did have 91.8% of that cohort transition ready. Now this is a 15.6 increase over the state transition readiness in 2022. And the state scores for 2023 have not been released yet. And also, official graduations have not happened. They happen starting tomorrow. So this number is still one of those fluid numbers that can continue to go up just a little bit until we get everybody officially graduated. So it's a moving target this time of the year. In keeping with looking at key question 2.1 with our students exiting high school, I want to point out some of the highlights. And some of the highlights with that 2.1 key question is looking at our ACT data. And so I followed the trajectory of those cohort 23 students, and we looked back when they were juniors, and when they're juniors, they take the state mandated ACT state test. And so you can see their composite for their junior year was an 18.8. Then each student gets a super score, so some of our students take the ACT multiple times. And so now that they're in seniors at the end of their school career, we also look back at their ACT score, and we can take the super score and get a composite. And so that composite is 19.4. And so you can see in the world of ACT, moving up 1/10 of a point or so is a big move. So you can see our students really do significantly increase throughout their high school career as they take that ACT. I also want to point out to you the state scores, which is in the middle column. And you'll notice whether our students were juniors or whether they're at the end of their school career, we do sit above the state scores in all areas. Also, we've pulled out data around ACT with those super scores, looking at what is the top 10% of those super scores and the composite. And that composite for the top 10% is 29.5. So that's a very impressive ACT score. Continuing with 2.1 highlights, we aligned this year transition readiness and made it go hand in hand with MTSS. And that's our multi-tiered system of support. So we incorporated all aspects of transition readiness, and students had 3 rounds of conferences with their adult advocates. And we trained our adult advocates around the transition ready model so that they could work with our students at all grade levels in the high school around setting goals and helping support them, making sure that they are on track and making progress towards transition readiness. We also held this year our first hopefully annual work-based learning fair. We're already starting to make plans for next year around that, and it was held this year on April 24th at Edgewood Gateway Campus. We had over 45 businesses that we partnered with, and over 300 juniors and seniors attend that were able to network with businesses. We featured 2 of our own KCSD student paid interns, and so that was a highlight for that morning. Those 2 students who were guest speakers, they are interns in our nursing program and our computer sciences program, and they were a real hit. We had lots of businesses trying to seek them out and hire them after their presentations. Key question 2.2 highlights with our 8th graders ending the year transition ready. The data indicates that we had 52.56 transition ready. And as I mentioned, this was the inception year. So this was our first year working with the middle school piece and really honing in on transition readiness with those students. So we incorporated and built very similar with our MTSS model. We incorporated the adult advocates conferencing with our students. We were able to get 2 rounds of conferences in, and again, we had training for those adult advocates so that they could sit down and have meaningful conversations with our students, helping them understand what goals they needed to set so that they could be transition ready. Another highlight with key question 2.2 was our Superintendent Student Advisory Council became very involved with mentoring our 8th grade students. And so our juniors and seniors on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council came up with the idea of creating an initiative that would support other KCSD students, and they wanted to do that by supporting those students with transition readiness. And so we were able to have our juniors and seniors mentor over 300 8th graders in our district during the second half of the school year. And they spoke with those students not only about looking at, are you transition ready currently, but what will it take as you move into high school to be transition ready? And you can see the bottom of this slide in our juniors and seniors in their own words, some of the benefits described by them that came about because of that mentoring program. And if you see most of them, it's all about building relationships with those upperclassmen and those 8th graders. And those upperclassmen, I know the ones returning are excited to see those 8th graders coming into high school. And so 2.2 is around exiting elementary school. And this year we were at 67.96, which is an increase of 11.29%. And as I mentioned, we did incorporate GPA. We feel it's important for those elementary students to be able to understand and learn that process around GPA. And you can see highlights here for all of our students. And just to point out, we had 143 students in YSA total, over $16 million in scholarships, over 2,500 dual credit courses completed, 315 industry certifications. And just to move on quickly, we want to continue with building the culture around transition readiness. Our students are aware of the importance of transition readiness, but we want them to understand how this is key in investing in their future. Again, we want everybody to understand and know that we are tackling this preschool through 12th grade. We want to continue with our students working with adult advocates and continue honing the alignment with MTSS and transition readiness. We want to continue with our students in the Superintendent Advisory Council, hopefully expanding that to 5th grade next year, and then also in elementary, adding literacy levels and emphasizing the importance of foundational literacy. So with that, I will turn things over now to Ms. Shauna Harney, our Chief Academic Officer, and she will be speaking about Pillar 1.
Good afternoon. I would also like to start off by thanking all of the stakeholders who served on the Pillar 1 committee. It was an honor and a privilege to work alongside of you with this work. And most importantly, I'd like to thank all of our school leadership teams, our teachers, and all of our stakeholders for just working at this daily You know, the pillars that you've heard explained prior to Pillar 1, as you know, those things have to be tightly connected and aligned for us to really reach the maximum potential that we want to reach and have a desire to reach in our classroom. We know that's where the magic happens. We know that our teachers are they have the greatest influence over the success of our students, and this pillar is all around student learning and students reaching their maximum learning potential. And in order to do so, we have to make sure all of those other aspects are aligned, but most importantly in this pillar, that we are providing the maximum supports and resources necessary for our teachers to do what we want and need them to do for our students. So thank you to everybody for also working this day in and day out with your stakeholders in your building. You can see our key essential questions that we monitor and measure through evidence and data throughout the school year. And when I think about this pillar, there's some key phrases and words that come to mind around this pillar. Collaborative, data-driven, equitable, intentional, just to name a few. I truly believe that we have created a very safe and trusted environment and culture in our district so that we can do exactly what we need to do with our teachers, which is supporting them in every aspect possible with high-quality professional learning, resources, the use of data in real time to make adjustments systemically, collectively, individually for students. So, you know, these are some of the questions that we really hold ourselves responsible in measuring how effective we are or where we're growing and where our work needs to be headed. As Dr. Webb mentioned, we still very much honor and respect all of the data that we receive at the state level. And this slide really puts some data in context for folks because this is representing scores from last year's Kentucky Summative Assessment. And you can see here on this snippet, every grade level, at every level, elementary, middle, and high, and every content area, just about with the exception of one small piece, Kenton County School District students are demonstrating their learning significantly above students throughout the state. And I think that really speaks to our structure and our process. And the other thing that this speaks to is that we really did not have a lot of surprises when we received our state assessment data back because of our structures and our shift to using data in real time and our platform that allows us to know that throughout the year. We don't have a lot of surprises, as we shouldn't. But this data really speaks to the demonstration on behalf of our staff and what our students are demonstrating that they're learning when they take this particular assessment. Additionally, we also take diagnostic screeners to demonstrate where our students are and know where they're learning and where we need to plug in some gaps. And the context around this slide is that particularly in our elementary and middle schools where we administer our MAP test, almost the majority of all of our schools are not only having high achievement, but they're also demonstrating high growth. And you want both of those. And you can see the data set describing that for those levels taking MAP. And CERT, we know that we administer that in our high schools as a predictor of ACT. And you can see the data here. We have very strong data indicating the prediction and how our students are going to fare when they take the ACT. We only have some growth data around our freshmen on this slide because, as you know, our board has adopted, we now administer the ACT to our sophomores prior to taking that state assessment in our junior year. So just very proud of this data. And again, this data is used for all of us to make decisions around how we can best serve our students. Some of the highlights, just to name a few with this particular area of work, is we did have a change in legislation a couple years ago where the superintendent now approves all curriculum and instructional resources. And when I used the word collaborative earlier, it's because truly we have had a tremendous response collaboratively from the district office, from school leadership, from teachers, from every type of staff member to really go after what resources do we have, how effective are they, and what are the needs. And through that process, we were able to clearly identify that we had some real needs with comprehensive resources. We have a lot of resources, but to really narrow and focus on some comprehensive resources to support our teachers in meeting what they need to meet with students in the classroom instructionally. We recognized that we had to prioritize in the area of literacy and numeracy, And we are very thankful to our board for approving a plan that we put together, a 5-year plan that is a system of how we approach this in an ongoing manner for now and in the near future, of how we tackle this very topic and systemically, collaboratively, and ongoing. So we have adopted that plan, our board approved that, and next year we will be implementing our new resource in literacy and in numeracy. As I said at the beginning, this pillar is all around equipping our teachers to equip our students. And we know that there are some very strategic things needed to do that. High quality professional learning. We have gone after that knowing that that's not an event, that's a process. It has to be differentiated. It has to be in response to what our students are demonstrating, they're telling us they're learning. So our team in our office and our school teams have been very committed to maintaining and evolving high quality professional learning in an ongoing, collective, individual manner. The reason that we were not surprised about our results from our state assessment on KSA is because the platform that we have continued to evolve with, where students are experiencing how to take assessments in real time, and our staff has data back around how students are demonstrating by standard, by student, that we can do something in real time, in the moment, and not wait for the results of our assessment in the fall. Additionally, this platform, we're transitioning next year to using that for our students who are receiving interventions. So it's truly a comprehensive platform that gives us a very clear data-driven landscape about our students. Something that we're very proud of that we call our roadmap. We have identified and created a rubric, but we really like to call it as a roadmap. And it highlights areas such as leadership, data-driven decision-making, targeted instruction, and supporting student success. We truly use this information to be all on the same page, to know where schools are functioning in all of those various aspects, and then have intentional targeted plans to help foster growth where everyone is at. And I am proud to say that all 17 of our schools made growth in that roadmap from where they were functioning at the beginning of the year to where they are now. And it's exciting to see the growth. And this is more than just a rubric, it's more than just a piece of paper, it's currently how we function and do everything. Some of our next steps is really just to continue to grow and evolve that safe and trusted learning environment where we can work as collaboratively as we have been, using data, really getting down to individual students and knowing how we can most effectively close gaps. And truly, if we are about all kids, that is a monumental task. But the way that we are functioning in our school district, I believe, is truly on the path to getting to every single student. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Webb to give us some closing remarks.
So I know that's a lot of information in a really short period of time, but in summary, just let me say that, as I stated earlier, we are now viewing our district in a holistic way. I think it's pretty obvious that our key questions are driving our work, and it's important to note that those key questions, that we go after those pretty relentlessly. I also think it's pretty obvious that we now have data. We measure basically everything. And we take that data and we make real-time adjustments to our action plan. And that's important, that when you're willing to adjust your action steps in real time to get the desired results we need for our kids. And finally, I think it's pretty obvious that we have a world-class team here in Kenton County serving our kids. So to our 2,000 plus team members, thank you so much. You heard growth mentioned over and over and over. And we have a team that we call Team Kenton that is dedicated to growth and has a growth mindset, and we appreciate them for that. This work, these results, are also a direct result of having just outstanding kids. Our students are amazing, our families are amazing, our parents are amazing, our partnerships with our business community is amazing, and we're just really excited about the results you heard here today, and frankly about the future, and what we're going to see moving forward with the incredible systems and the way we're adjusting to make sure that we're doing the things we need to do for our kids. And lastly, I would just say on behalf of our Board of Education, who also serve on our Pillar Action teams, thank you so much. thank you to all the individuals that serve on our Pillar Action teams. Your feedback, your professional judgments, your conversations is what's driving these adjustments. So thank you so much for continuing to serve, and we hope you continue to serve. And for anybody listening, if you want more information on our community-based accountability system, or if you want to review more information about our annual report, you can visit our district website and get more information on that. Or if you'd like to serve on one of our Pillar Action teams, you can get more information on our website on how to do that. So this concludes our annual report, and once again, thank you to everybody, and thank you to our cabinet for doing such a wonderful job today. Thank you.